Today we got a story time of a Minecraft kid who thinks the backrooms are actually real and it's a serious danger and threat to everyone. Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's get right into it. So we're going to call a subscriber who sent in today's story, we're going to call him Will. I got that name from the comment section down below, so if you want me to use a name, either your name, your friend's name, your dog's name, basically any name that you like, if you want me to use it in a future video, just leave it down below in the comment section, and I'll definitely make sure to go through and find and look at those. And I mean, I use those names in the comments of all the names of all the videos. But anyways, right, so Will told me the story about, this was actually quite recent. So if you don't know, a pretty viral video came out, or set of videos, where someone made a very realistic, kind of movie type short film about the Backrooms, which, if you don't know, it's like an old internet legend that, like, if you're not really careful or if you're really unlucky, you can quote unquote no clip, which is like in a video game where you like clip through a wall. You can no clip out of reality into the Backrooms, which is like these repeating, really dark, musky kind of this kind of like dark, musky, repeating set of office-type rooms where these like monsters live. It was a really great short film that was based on that kind of like internet mystery or whatever. And when it came out, right, it was like they made it really realistic. I mean, obviously, it's as realistic as a fantasy horror, like a house-made film would be, correct? But at the same time, they did a really good job. However, recently, the subscriber Will said that his friend, who was definitely a Minecraft kid, saw the videos and believed that they were 100% real. This is kind of giving me vibes of like, I don't know, Salem Witch Trial, or not Salem Witch Trials, what's it called? The movie called The Blair Witch Project, where when they released it back in 1999, before the internet was as like normalized as it is now, they made it like as if it was a found footage and that like what was going on was actually real, and people kind of did believe it. This is kind of a similar situation, so let's just jump right into it. Anyways, right, so pretty recently, Will was just in class, and he was just sitting there one day, and he was friends with this kid who played like a little bit too much Minecraft, and that's definitely not a bad thing, as it's the background footage for this video. But Will was just sitting in class one day, and the kid that he always played Bed Wars with, he came in panting and sweating, and just looked at Will with these like wide eyes, and he just like looked back. He's like, "Man, are you good?" And the Minecraft kid's like, "Will, we need to talk at recess today." And Will was like genuinely concerned. Like, Will was genuinely worried for like what is going on. Like, why is this kid freaking out? Why does he feel as if like he needs to talk to me at recess? Like, did something really bad happen? Because it looks like something really bad happened from the looks of this. Like, it's kind of freaking him out, to be honest. Anyways, right after class, it's recess, so Will goes and finds the Minecraft kid and is like, "Hey man, like, what's wrong?" And he's like, "I can't talk to you here about this. We need to go over there." And he points to kind of a more deserted corner of like the playground. And Will's like, "All right, like, cool, I guess. I'm a little worried because I don't know what's going on and it just kind of feels a little weird, but all right, cool enough, I guess." And the kid's like, "All right, bro, come over here." And he said, like, Will's like really kind of freaking out. He feels kind of weird about the whole thing. And the Minecraft kid says, "Man, I gotta warn you about something. What do you know about the Backrooms?" And at this point, right, Will had no idea what the Backrooms were. Because, Will's on the internet. I mean, he watches this channel. But I guess he just didn't get recommended that video. And he also hasn't been on the internet long enough to kind of know about the internet horror. Because it's like a pretty popular internet horror story. Like, I knew about the Backrooms way before that short film came out, just because I've been on the internet for a while and I'm pretty immersed with the culture on here, if I do say so myself. And he's like, "Will, you gotta be really careful." And he's like, "Dude, what are you talking to me?" He's like, "Whatever you do, don't no clip out of reality." And Will kind of looked at him because, like, at the end of the day, right, Will wasn't totally sure what the Backrooms were before, he actually did a little research after this whole story goes down and before he sent this in to me. But he knew what, like, clipping, like, no clipping out of the framework of a video game was. And he was like, "Dude, what are you even talking about?" He's like, "Bro, you gotta trust me on this. If you no clip out of reality, you'll be sent to the Backrooms, and it's just repeating Office Space forever, and there's no escape, man. And if you're not careful, they're creatures. They're creatures that roam the Backrooms." And at this point, right, Will's like, all right, bro, like, I think I've had enough of this conversation. I've heard what I've needed to hear. Like, okay, buddy. So anyways, right, the Minecraft kid's like, all right, man, just know I warned you. And, they go back to class, or, the bell rings and they go back to class. And Will's just kind of weirded out by all this. And he's looking over at the Minecraft kid, and the Minecraft kid is not even focusing in class. He's like too paranoidly looking around, afraid that he's like about to no clip out of reality, whatever that's even supposed to mean. And the teacher's like kind of going on and on about something. He's like, and then, the square root of x plus, or whatever, right? He's just kind of going on. And then all of a sudden, right, Will, the subscriber, sees the Minecraft kid out of the corner of his eye, get out of his seat, and run up towards the front of the classroom. And at this point, Will was like, oh my God, what's going on? And the Minecraft kid tackles the teacher just out of nowhere. And the teacher was kind of like holding on to something, and whatever was in his hand flew out of his hand. And like the whole class kind of was like kind of gasped a little bit, and then started like talking. And the Minecraft kid was like, oh my God, that was a close one. I just saved your life. And the teacher kind of pushed him off of him. He's like, what are you doing? What are you thinking? And the Minecraft kid the teacher was like, I swear, you were about to no clip, you were about to go to the back rooms. And then just like pure silence afterwards. And the teacher's like, what? And the Minecraft kid's like, I can't explain it, but I just saved your life. Imagine going up to someone saying, I can't explain it, but I just saved your life, so you should be nice to me. Like, you should feel good. Like, imagine I just go up to someone, like touch their shoulder and be like, you don't understand it, man, but I just saved your life. No, you don't understand it. Like, you don't even try and understand, man. You just don't understand. But I just saved your life. So if I were you, I would just be like super nice to me, maybe even give me like $25 or whatever money's in your pocket, just because I saved your life, which I think is worth so much more than whatever's in your pocket, man. So it would just be the least you could do, Like, I'm not about to go up and do that to someone. And the teacher's just like looks at him, kind of with this like weird look, and just like silence for a little bit. And he's like, I don't know what just happened. I really don't know what just happened. But just go sit back down, and I don't want to hear any more of this backroom nonsense. Like, just sit down. Like, I'm not going to send you to the principals. I don't know why, but this is just too weird. Sit back down. Don't say anything. Don't speak up in class. And the Minecraft kid like gets up and he walks back. And Will, the subscriber, is looking at him like, dude, what, are you insane? Are you good? And the Minecraft kid looks over at him and kind of leans over because he's sitting right next to him. He's like, bro, the teacher was about to no clip out of reality. He doesn't understand it, but I just saved his life. And at this point, Will just looks at him with this kind of just this blank look of just astonishment. Just, is this my friend? Is my friend okay? By the way, if you made it this far into the video, comment Backrooms down below. That's one word, backroom, and then with a S, plural, backroom or backrooms. Actually, comment either of them. I just like to see how many people made it this far into the video. But anyways, right, the end of class happens, and the teacher looks at the Minecraft kid and basically signals him to come up and talk to him. But Will has no idea what the teacher said to the Minecraft kid, because by that time, Will had already left the classroom. He's like, all right, well, most likely, and most likely the teacher was like, are you okay? Like, what happened in there? And also, you can't do that, like, in general. Like, you just can't do that. And anyways, right, so Will, the subscriber, he's walking down the hallway, and he's walking to the next class. And probably by this time, the Minecraft kid gets out of the class. Like, Will doesn't know that at the time, but using this logic and what is about to happen, which is quite interesting, he just puts two and two together, and the Minecraft kid probably came out about that time. And in front of him, right, is a pretty long hallway, and a door opens to a classroom. And it's a classroom that has the same, like, kind of like these kind of like dingy yellow lights, like kind of lights that are kind of like office type fluorescent type lights, similar to what it looks like in the back rooms. And sure enough, right, the walls are kind of like, the wallpaper is kind of this yellow. It was bad interior design, but obviously, right, it wasn't actually the back rooms. It was like just really like crappy design. It just looked ugly. But anyways, right, Will the subscriber was kind of walking towards the end of the room, or the end of the hall, and he wasn't going into that room specifically, but he did see like the room exist. Like, he just did notice it, and he didn't think much of it until he heard a screaming coming from behind him. And sure enough, right, It was the Minecraft kid who also saw this, and it's weird because, like, this classroom wasn't new. If anything, it was probably pretty old, but I guess the Minecraft kid was just on high alert to look for, like, no clips into the back room, and the second he saw a classroom that had kind of, like, you know, bad, crappy wallpaper and, like, bad, crappy lighting, he was like, oh my god, man, it's the back rooms. The portal's opened up. Just like something crazy like that. And like he sees kids walking to it because they have a class there, man. It's this normal classroom, bro. And they have a classroom there. I mean, they have a class. Of course they're going to walk there. And he starts shouting, no, don't go in there. It's a trap. And at this point, right, all the kids in the hallway start to turn around and just kind of look at, you know, what's going on. And by the way, the subscriber who sent this in, he's in 3rd grade. So this is not like a 10th grader thinking the backrooms are actually real. Just a clarification. But anyways, he's like, no, don't go back there. It's a trap. It's the backrooms. They've opened up. And at this point, right, people are just kind of looking around like, huh? Like, bro, what are you saying? And like, there's a couple people that are about to walk in the classroom who aren't turning around looking at this kid screaming. And the Minecraft kid's like, no, and sprints down the hallway. And Will, the subscriber, says he's never seen this kid run this fast. Like, has never probably seen anyone run this fast. He just, like, lightning bolt sprints down the hallway, jumps in front of the people, and kind of knocks them over. Almost like he's tackling them in football. It's crazy. He's like, I just saved your life. Why didn't you listen to me? Don't go into that room. It's a trap. And the teacher who's teaching a class in that room walks out after hearing all this commotion and is like, guys, what's going on? What is going on out here? At this point, right, there's this guy who has watched the whole thing go down and listened to everything. And the Minecraft kid is like talking to, you know, the kids on the ground who he's tackled. He's like, I just saved you from entering the back rooms. You almost clipped out of reality. At this point, like this kid, right, that I just mentioned a second ago is like, back rooms? Clipped out of reality. And he looks at the Minecraft and he's like, you don't think the back rooms are actually real, right? And the Minecraft kid's like, bro, I thought the same thing as you. I thought it was just like funny business, but then I saw these videos on the internet that are real live footage from 1980s. There was a film student and he recorded the whole thing and someone just got the footage and uploaded it. And the kid looked at him like, bro. He's like, dude, you do realize, right, that was like a film project that was made recently. And at this point, the Minecraft kid's like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, you could literally see the footage. It had a time, it had a date on it. It was 1980s, right? It was a film. It was like it was a college kids. They're doing a film project. And then one of them clipped into the back room. And then the camera was sent all the way. And they started like listening to what he was saying. He's like, the camera was sent all the way out of the back rooms, falling. And then the other kid who like was just looking at him like, okay. He's starting to get it. He's starting to get it. And at this point, the Minecraft kid is starting to have a realization that not everything on the internet is real life. And he just looks at the people on the ground like, go about your day, guys. And he gets up. The Minecraft kid's like, all right, my bad. Go about your day. Minecraft kid gets up, starts walking away. And the teacher's like, hold it 1 second. Did you just tackle these kids? And the kids on the ground were like, I mean, I guess. Like, he kind of did. And at this point, the teacher's like, explain yourself. And at this point, the Minecraft kid's like, well, and then the Minecraft kid was really struggling to talk because he realized he has to explain to the teacher that he was trying to save these students from entering a new dimension full of evil beasts, which was her classroom, apparently. Subscribe! Now go watch another video. There's some on screen, some that are recommended. Go watch one, I'll be very happy. Goodbye. Today we got a story time of a Minecraft kid who actually thought the backrooms were real and had a complete freak out at the sleepover, and it was quite hilarious. So yeah, sit back, relax, leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, and let's get right into it. I got today's story from a subscriber who we're going to call John, and I got the name John from the comment section down below. So as always, if you want me to use your name or your friend's name or really any name you want, literally just leave it in a comment down below. I look through the comments all the time to find a name to use in a video. So yeah, go ahead and do that. And anyways, right, so John, the subscriber, he told me this story that happened kind of recently. So if you don't know, recently there was like a viral video about the Backrooms that went out. It was actually kind of like a mini series done by someone who did a really, really great job. I'm pretty sure I'll leave a link in the description, or at least some information in the description, so you can go watch that video if you'd like. But anyways, right, that video was so good that it actually convinced a lot of people that the Backrooms were actually real. In fact, I did a video a couple days ago about another subscriber who sent in a story that the Backrooms video actually made one of his friends believe it, and I guess he's not alone, because today we have a story from the subscriber about how his friend saw that video, believed the Backrooms were real, and had a complete freak out at his sleepover. But anyways, right, so this happened to John, the subscriber. And one day, right, he was just like, chilling with his friends, having a pretty good time. And, we're just going to call this friend the Minecraft Kid, because he was just known for, he was like known as like the Bed Wars sweat in the class or whatever. So for that reason, we're just going to call him the Minecraft Kid, right? So anyways, right, John, the Minecraft Kid, and a couple other of their boys, right, they're going to have a good time. They're excited. They're friends. Life is good. And they want to have a sleepover, right? So yeah, they talk to their parents, and sure enough, that weekend they can have a sleepover. Life is good, man. Things are good. Well, life was good until a couple days before the sleepover. Let's just call it like Wednesday or something. The Minecraft Kid discovers the videos in the Backrooms. And real quick, for some of you guys who don't know, the Backrooms are kind of like an internet legend where you can essentially, like, if you're not careful, you can no-clip, which is a video game term, but basically you can phase out of reality into these endless rooms that are very similar to a kind of a dank, musty 1980s office that just keeps going on and on and on and repeating itself. And that was kind of an internet legend that happened a little while ago, but more recently there was a video that someone made that was like kind of a live, not a live action, but it was like a film project that was really well done. And I suggest everyone watch it. But the thing is, a lot of people watched it, and on the younger side, a lot of people were like, wow, this is actually really believable. And the Minecraft Kid was one of those kids. So the Minecraft Kid ends up watching this video, and the next day he comes into school. And, the subscriber, John, is just kind of chilling there, having a good time, excited for the sleepover that's happening that weekend. And what happens, right, is, his friend comes up to him, the Minecraft Kid comes up to him, and John is looking at him, the Minecraft Kid's, his eyes are, like, wide, and the Minecraft Kid's like, oh, man, I'm so worried. By the way, if you like story videos, and if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. It's free, and you can always change your mind later. Anyways, right, so, he comes up to John. He's like, John, oh my God, oh my God. And John just kind of looks at the Minecraft Kid like, bro, like, what is up? Like, are you good, man? Like, is everything okay? You're looking really sweaty. Like, are things okay? And the Minecraft Kid's like, John, do you know about the Backrooms? And John looks at him, he's like, yeah, the internet legend. He's like, no, John, you don't understand, man. These things are real. And John looks at him like, bro, what are you talking about, man? Like, it's like a meme or like an internet legend. It's one of those creepypastas, man. Don't tell me you're going to say that, like, every other creepypasta that's ever existed is now real. Oh, yeah, Sonic.exe, that's real. Jeff the Killer, yeah, that's real, man. Yeah, anything that's on the internet is real, because lesson 1 of the internet is anything you see is legit. But, John can't convince the Minecraft Kid that what he saw wasn't reality, and the Minecraft Kid was convinced that, he was like, John, I'm sorry that you're so naive right now, but, it's dangerous, like, and I will convert you, like, you will see the truth. And that was kind of a weird cultish kind of thing to say, but whatever, right? He's like, John, you will see the truth. Like, trust me, I will show you the truth. I will show you the way. And, John's just like, all right, bro, like, whatever. Part of, like, John was thinking that this whole thing was kind of like an elaborate troll by the Minecraft Kid. But then again, they were, they are, because not were, this happened recently, they are, like, in 5th grade. And, John's, like, not, like, he's a 5th grader, but he's still mature enough to know that, like, internet memes or internet creepypastas, they're not real, man. It's just not true. They're just not real. But the thing is, right, his friend had a bit more of a, let's just call it an active imagination, to put it lightly. And he has kind of done nothing like to this extreme before, but it wouldn't have been completely unbelievable to John, at least, that his friend, the Minecraft Kid, would have believed this to be true. That's all I'm saying. Anyways, right, so John doesn't really think anything more of this, and sure enough, the sleepover comes, and, he completely forgets about this encounter until a little bit later, as you guys will see. But anyways, it's the day of the sleepover, so, everyone's coming over to John's house, and everything is totally normal at first. Like, everything is normal. Like, there's nothing weird. The Minecraft kid is just acting normal, or as normal as the Minecraft kid had ever acted before. And, John really thought nothing of it. And this kind of seemed like there was going to be no story until later that night. So anyways, right, it's whatever. They stay up for a decent amount of time. And, John's mother comes up and says, hey, guys, like, glad you're having fun, but it's probably time for you guys to go to bed. Like, it's getting pretty late. Like, alrighty now. Like, let's just, let's wrap things up here. And they're like, okay, whatever, right? Fair enough. It's like 11 or something, and we're in 5th grade. We go to bed early, whatever. And so, yeah, they're brushing their teeth. They're getting ready. And John is just brushing his teeth when he looks over and sees the Minecraft kid in his room staring at something. And it's just very, very strange. And he doesn't know why he feels so weird about it. But in retrospect, he was 100% on the money. Minecraft kid was up to some nonsense, bro. Real quick, right, so the secret word of the day is Backrooms. So comment Backrooms, Backrooms, 1, 2, 3, maybe 5 times. If you're super cool, you'll comment it 5 times. So I'm going to go through and heart a bunch of random people who comment. I can't heart them all at this point. I just have a lot of things going on, and also a lot of comments, which I appreciate. But if you want to, up your odds of getting, a heart, just comment it more times. Don't do it more than 5 times, though. I don't want YouTube to, remove your comments or whatever, or ban you from commenting. But I think 5 is a pretty decent number, so comment Backrooms in the comments. And anyways, right, so the subscriber John, he doesn't know why he feels so weird about the Minecraft kid kind of staring at something, but in retrospect, it all makes a ton of sense. And John, the subscriber, was 100% on point that something weird was brewing. But anyways, right, so, they brush their teeth, and the Minecraft kid eventually comes into the room and is, like, kind of very quiet for some reason. He's just, like, weird, and it's John, the subscriber. He just doesn't know why the Minecraft kid is acting so weird and strange, but he really doesn't really think anything of it at the time. He just notices it, kind of makes, like, a mental note of it, but doesn't think anything of it at the time. In retrospect, makes a ton of sense. And the Minecraft kid, he's just acting weird, and he doesn't, John is like, all right, guys, so let's go to bed. And John gets into his bed, and the Minecraft kid and the 2 other guys that are with them, they brought sleeping bags and they plop them on the floor. John turns off the lights, and he expects that the next time that he opens his eyes will be, it's 7 in the morning or 9 in the morning or whatever, and to go down and eat some breakfast. But that is not the case, because, he's middle of a dream. John's sitting there just like, enjoying his sleep, and he's like shaking, and he feels like he's moving back and forth. And he looks up, and it's the Minecraft kid. And the Minecraft kid is, like, sweating and, like, freaking out a little bit. And John is, like, really, like, startled by this, because, like, your friend just came up to you and is like, you're awoken by your friend shaking you, like, something is wrong. And the Minecraft kid, John is just like, oh my God, like, what's up? And the Minecraft kid's like, dude, I told you it was real. And at this point, like, John's like, dude, what are you talking about, man? Like, what are you saying? And, the Minecraft kid's like, dude, just come with me, come look. And at this point, like, John's terrified. He has no idea what he's about to show him. And the Minecraft kid brings him out to his hallway and points towards, like, a door, or, like, a door to a room. And there's, like, yellow light coming out of it. And one of the things you need to know is, in the back rooms, it's kind of like that kind of dingy yellow corporate lighting from the 80s. And it just, like, isn't a good lighting job. But the problem is, right, that's a pretty common light. Like, that type of lighting, it's not the greatest and it doesn't look that good. Still is pretty common. That's all I gotta say. It's still pretty common lighting. So, yeah, sure enough, the Minecraft kid points at this door and is like, John, the Backrooms, they're real. At this point, John is, like, starting to really wake up and comprehend what's happening. And he realizes that his friend is pointing at one of his rooms in his house that he probably just forgot to turn the light off. And he woke him up, terrified, right? Assuming that the Backrooms are real. And it's proof. And so John is like, dude, that's just a room. Like, it's just a room in my house. And John's like, no, it's not. Or not John, the Minecraft kid. So John's like, all right, whatever, dude. And, John goes up into the room, turns off the light, and is like, bro, it's literally just a storage closet. Like, it's nothing. And, this Minecraft kid's like, dude, I'm sorry. I thought it was, I don't know what's up with me. And John, starts feeling a little compassionate for his friend. He's like, you know what, man, it's okay. You're probably just like freaking out about something. Let's just go back to the room. Let's try and be quiet just so we don't wake up the other guys. I'm going to go in my closet. I'm going to try and find a night light, just plug it in, and then we'll just all go to bed and things will be good. And John's like, yeah, man, I'm so sorry about this. Thank you. So they go in, right? And sure enough, right, John goes to the closet, turns on the closet light, and then the Minecraft kid starts screaming, the Backrooms! No! John, don't fall for it! At this point, the other two kids who were blissfully sleeping are just rudely awoken, and they're just like, oh, God, well, what's happening? And John's like, dude, what are you talking about? And then John looks at the closet, right? And he realizes, because he turned on the light to look for the night light, and he realizes that the light to the closet is the same kind of dingy yellow. And then at this point, right, the Minecraft kid's like, John, it's a trap. Don't fall for it. You're going to fall into the back rooms. No clip out of And at this point, John turns around. He's like, dude, it's just the closet light. At this point, everyone's like looking up. And because they're like, what's going on? What's going on? And John's like, bro, is this what you were staring at earlier? The closet light? And the Minecraft kid is just kind of looking at John like, I'm an idiot. Because at this point, right, the Minecraft kid, who has a very active imagination, to put it lightly, is now very much aware that, both times, and probably more embarrassingly the second time, it was just a lighting choice. It wasn't actually the back rooms, opening up to swallow them whole or anything like that. And yeah, sure enough, the Minecraft kid is just like, yo, bro, I'm sorry. And at this point, like, the other two guys are like, dude, why am I awake right now? Like, it's 12. It's literally midnight, bro. Like, why am I awake right now? And sure enough, like, John is like, all right, whatever. He goes in the closet, turns the light on again because he turned it off to, like, prove it's not the back rooms. And no, the Minecraft kid did not freak out a third time, even though that would be pretty funny. He finds the night light, plugs it in, and they go to sleep, and they wake up the next day, and the Minecraft kid kind of pulls John aside after they eat breakfast, which was pancakes, which are just such a good way to start the morning. He pulls him aside. He's like, dude, I'm so sorry. I don't know what got into me. And John's like, bro, don't even worry about it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Now go watch another video. There's some on screen, some in the recommended section. Go watch one. Make me very happy. Bye. So I got sent this story from this guy who kind of needed to teach his younger cousin a lesson, and to do so, he decided to scare him. And to scare him, he decided to, one, convince him that the Backrooms, yes, the internet urban legend, the Backrooms, were real, and then pretend to kind of like shove him into the Backrooms or whatever. And he had this whole kind of elaborate setup, and it was actually very interesting, pretty funny story. So yeah, leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing. Let's just jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber Jonathan. You can leave a name in the comment section. That's where I get these names. Anyways, right, so one day, Jonathan's mom kind of like calls him into the room. And Jonathan, who is older, I think Jonathan's in high school. Just for a little context, he has a younger brother. And his younger brother is, not younger brother, my fault. He has a cousin, a younger cousin, who is probably like in 3rd or 4th grade. So pretty young at this point. And Jonathan's mom calls him down and explains that his cousin's mom, called up Jonathan's mom, or his mom, right, and explained that there was a bit of a situation with Jonathan's cousin. Essentially, right, Jonathan's cousin has gotten repeatedly in trouble for kind of scaring people at school. I don't know exactly what that entails, but however, like a younger kid, kind of like just tormenting his classmates through pranking them, through like scaring them somehow. I'm not 100% sure exactly how that works, but I'm sure that, if you're creative, you can find a way to like scare people, especially if you're in like 2nd grade. Maybe even like jumping from around a closet and going boo is enough to scare people. But anyways, exactly how his cousin scared him is kind of irrelevant. But Jonathan's mom then goes on to explain to Jonathan that, his cousin's mom has asked for Jonathan's help with this, because explaining to the kid, right, don't scare people for some reason, not for some reason, but it just wasn't working. Jonathan's cousin continued to scare people because he thought it was pretty funny. The thing is, though, the cousin's mom was thinking that Jonathan could be of help and kind of teach the cousin a lesson by scaring him back. So, Jonathan at this point, he understood the assignment, but was still like a little bit like, okay, how am I going to go about doing this? And this happened pretty recently. And as you guys probably know, if you've watched my previous videos, a lot of kind of stories have spawned out of the viral video, the Backrooms viral video. It's a viral video that a film student made that is very, very good, and I suggest you go ahead and watch it. But it's based on this urban legend. I'm going to not spend that much time explaining because I've explained it before in previous videos. It's an urban legend where like there's a separate reality that you can kind of no clip. That's a video game term, but essentially you accidentally fall into it and it's like repeating rooms or whatever. And, there's like a monster in there. It's an internet urban legend or whatever, but it was recreated really well with this video. And essentially, right, Jonathan, he went up to his room after his mom told him what the task is, what his assignment is, right? He went up to his room to kind of sit down and try and like figure out, I don't know, how am I going to go about doing this? Like, and he was thinking, because he just saw that video and he's like, oh, this is a really good series. And he was like, all right, well, maybe this, like, use some kind of like urban legend. He's like, okay, we got the Backrooms. Let's try and use that. And he's thinking to himself, all right, what am I exactly going to do? How am I going to like convince him? And then how am I going to prank him and scare him to teach him a lesson to get him to stop terrorizing kids at his school? And he's thinking to himself, all right, I got to figure out something. I got to figure out what to do. Eventually, Jonathan gets it. He knows exactly what he needs to do. And he's also going to need the help of his cousin's mother as well, who will be very who would be very happily in on this simply because, like, she asked for him to do it in the first place. But I'm not going to tell you exactly what the plan is yet. I'm going to explain it to you as it happens so that there's a bit of mystery of what happens. But anyways, right, eventually the day comes around where everything's going to go down. First part of the plan, and I'll explain the first part to you. Jonathan is going to, have, nonchalantly a day with his cousin, or for some reason, they're going to be together at his cousin's house, as his cousin actually does not live that far away from him. I know my cousins live pretty far away from me, and for a lot of people, but for some people, your cousins can live kind of close, and this is the case for Jonathan, which is pretty convenient for his plan. So anyways, right, part one of the plan is to see his cousin, show him the videos of the back room, and be like super serious in a way that it seems like, Jonathan is like showing him some kind of like secret video message, whatever. He doesn't want to explain to him that this was like a video he found on YouTube or something. So he kind of like figures out, so he has to like tell his cousin about the back rooms, explain it as if they're real, and then go on with part two of the plan. Anyways, right, so Jonathan gets to his cousin's house, and for the first hour or so, they're kind of just hanging out, whatever, doing stuff, or maybe they have some, like, planned excursion to get ice cream or do something, or he doesn't start off right away with his plan. But after a little bit of time, right, he kind of pulls his cousin aside. He's like, hey, can we go somewhere private? His cousin's like, oh, yeah, sure, what's up? He's like, hey, man, I just wanted to let you know about something. And his cousin's like, okay, like, sure, fair enough. So they get to the room, and so this is where he starts putting on this act. And Jonathan is like, he's like, all right, I got to make this convincing in his head. So what he does is he goes around, locks the door, and like goes to the window, draws the blinds to make it look like he's revealing like something very, very secret. And Jonathan's cousin's like, is everything okay? He's like, yeah, I just have something very, very top secret I need to tell you. I got to make sure the room isn't bugged. He's really going above and beyond to try and make it as convincing as possible. So he goes around, he's like pretending to check for bugs. And at this point, right, Jonathan's little cousin is starting to get a little scared. He's like, dude, what's coming on? He's like, all right, I think this room is safe. No one's tapped it, whatever. I gotta explain something to you, man. So then he turns to his cousin. He's like, I need to tell you about something called the Backrooms. And he kind of looks at his cousin to make sure he doesn't realize this is like an internet thing. His cousin really doesn't have that much access to the internet, and his mom like heavily monitors. I think it's like YouTube for kids. And sure enough, right, his cousin's like, what's that? Like he has no idea what it is. Because this plan wouldn't have worked as well if he knew it was like a fake online meme type thing. He's like, dude, all right. I can't explain how I got access to this video, but I got access to these videos, and I just got to tell you for your own security. And what he ends up doing is he shows, what he did was he went to YouTube, downloaded the video series, kind of like the recent ones that went very popular. I'm forgetting the name of who put them out. Very talented film artist. They're very well done. And I think it kind of reminds me of the Blair Witch Project that was released in the 1990s, where the internet was still kind of new and people could be easily fooled by something like that. So he goes on to show him like downloaded on his phone the YouTube videos, and he makes sure to he went through and I think he cut out out if there's any references to like subscribe to my channel or whatever. I don't know if there are, but he did go through and edit those to make sure it was seamless. And by the end of it, right, his little cousin is freaking out. And so, you know, he goes down to his little cousin, goes down like on one knee or like crouches down to get eye level with his little cousin. He's like, all right, now that you know how serious this is, I'm going to tell you exactly how to avoid the back rooms and what to expect when you're in them. So the following is really important because what he explains to him isn't exactly what the back rooms are in the videos, but he goes on to explain, like, he explains it in a way that the next part of the plan, which which you're about to see, right, it works perfectly for this. So he goes down on his knees or crouches just to get to eye level. He's like, all right, the back rooms, while you can really no clip anywhere, they normally spawn in basements. This is important because this isn't like normal, but this is important for the plan. He's like, they normally spawn in basements. Even if you just go down, you enter your basement, and if the door locks behind you, and if you call out and no one responds back, you're probably in the back rooms. You'll know for a fact, especially if the lighting is a dim yellow lighting. Most of the time, the videos you saw there were level 2 of the back rooms. But the monsters that roam around level 1 of the back rooms that normally start in the basement, they're kind of these big, black, dark, like amorphous blobs that kind of go around. That's another very important part, as you'll see in a second. He's like, if you get trapped in there, you need to run. You need to run and bang on the door because there's a chance that someone on the other side will hear you, open the door, which will inadvertently be the portal, and if you get out and you shut it, it'll revert back to the normal basement, but basements are very dangerous and you need to be careful. So this is where things actually get really, really funny / interesting, and this is phase 2 of the plan, where he actually tricks, he's already phase 1, convince his cousin that the backrooms are real and a serious danger. Phase 2, scare him and teach him a lesson. Now let's enter phase 2. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, I'd like you to comment the back rooms down below. I just want to see how many people made it this far into the video. Also, I've had channel members as an option for a very long time, but as of last night, I've uploaded a ton of videos where I explain the YouTube algorithm and basically everything you need to know to grow a YouTube channel. And you can only view those videos if you are a channel member. So if you've ever wanted to be a YouTuber and also at the same time support the channel, consider hitting the join button down below. And if you don't see a join button, there will be a link in the description that allows you to join the channel. Also wanted to say, by no means do you have to watch these videos in order to grow a YouTube channel. You can do it all by yourself, really. I just thought that these would be helpful, and I really wanted to kind of give a little bit more to the people who are going like a step and beyond to help me with the channel by being a channel member. Anyways, let's get back to the story and see exactly how Jonathan pranks his little cousin. Anyways, right, so Jonathan's cousin's mom is also in on this, and after Jonathan, like, explains him and scares him and tells him all the details about the back rooms, he doesn't do anything. He feels like it wouldn't be super authentic, or it might feel a little fishy if he was to immediately spring with part 2 of his plan. So he said, okay, man, as long as you know those things, you'll probably be safe. Don't worry about it. I just thought it was important to tell you. And Jonathan's cousin's like, oh, okay. So anyways, right, a little bit of time goes by, and they do some activities. They might even, I think they actually go out to do something, because the following occurs when they all come back from something, and they're just chilling in the kitchen. And Jonathan's mom is like, all right, so I'm going to be making dinner. And at this point, Jonathan's like, all right, I'm going to excuse myself for a little bit. He's like, I got to go to the bathroom. This is important. He actually does not go to the bathroom, right? But he's gone for a second. And Jonathan and his mother, and Jonathan, the only reason we know about this is Jonathan's mother explained this to Jonathan, or Jonathan's mother. Jonathan's cousin's mother explained this to Jonathan after the fact. But Jonathan's cousin and Jonathan's cousin's mother, his mother, they're sitting in the kitchen or whatever, and Jonathan's cousin's mother, that's a mouthful. Jonathan's cousin's mother tells Jonathan's cousins, hey, I need you to get X, whatever, some important cooking material from the basement. Can you do that for me? And Jonathan's cousin looks up like, yeah, sure. And then he's like, he kind of like goes dark. He's like, oh my God. Like, wait a minute. He's like, I don't know if I totally want to. And Jonathan's cousin's mother knows exactly why he doesn't want to, but pretends like she doesn't. She's like, can you just do this one thing for me, please? It'll be quick. It'll take a second. Eventually, Jonathan's cousin's like, okay, fine. Jonathan's cousin then makes his way to the basement, which is like a little bit past the kitchen or whatever. And unbeknownst to him, right, his mother is actually following him a little bit, kind of pretending like she's going off to do something else. And the thing about the basement, right, is you have to walk down the flight of stairs to get the light switch instead of, like, for some reason, right, the way that their house was structured was the light switch was at the bottom of the basement stairs, not at the top of it. So anyways, right, Jonathan's cousin opens up the basement door, looks down, it's all dark, he's like, So he starts walking down the stairs to go and turn on the lights. And Jonathan's cousin's mother is just waiting above. And this is when Jonathan's cousin flicks the light switch, and sure enough, the lighting is this yellow color. The exact color that Jonathan explained to him earlier was associated with the Backrooms, and when the Backrooms specifically turned via the basement. And as soon as this happened, right, Jonathan's cousin's mother slams the door and locks it, right, as she was told to do by Jonathan. And at this point, right, Jonathan's cousin's like, Bob, like, oh, let me out, or whatever. He, like, starts, like, shaking the door, and is like, Jonathan's mother is kind of struggling because she's like, oh my God, like, my son is, like, screaming for me or whatever. But she's like, it's part of the prank. I'm told I cannot respond or make any noise. And at this point, right, Jonathan's cousin remembers that, like, if he's in the back rooms, one good way to test it is if no one responds when he bangs on the door and asks him to open it. So at this point, he's like, oh my God, I'm actually in the back rooms. So he starts walking down the stairs, which I don't know why I wouldn't just stay up and, like, we're trying on the door, but whatever. He walks down the stairs, and the lighting, because at this point, right, what Jonathan did was Jonathan told Jonathan's cousin's mom exactly what the plan was, so that she would, tell him to go down to the basement and then shut the door when he turned on the lights. And Jonathan, in the meantime, the day before, he kind of snuck into the house when he knew that his cousin wouldn't have been there, because his mom explained when his cousin was going out to do something, and switched out, like, the 3 or 4 lights in the basement with, like, a certain yellow dungeon, like, kind of, like, grimy colored light or whatever. And so at this point, like, Jonathan's looking around, he's like, oh my God. And remember what Jonathan explained to him, what the creatures in the back room, in the basements of the back room, looked like. Not like the creatures in the video, which would be very hard to recreate, but these kind of, like, dark, black, amorphous blobs, right? And what do you think Jonathan bought to recreate that? Yep, he got a trash bag. I'm not even kidding. He, like, got, like, a very large industrial-sized trash bag and poked, like, a small hole so he could kind of see what was happening. And because, like, the lighting was kind of like kind of dark and dingy enough, it wasn't super obvious that it was some kind of trash bag. It was dark enough. And also, his cousin was super scared. So his cousin's kind of walking around like, oh my God, like, where is, like, I don't know where I am. At this point, like, Jonathan, in his, like, trash bag getup, is like, ooh, or whatever. And sure enough, right, Jonathan's cousin looks at him, is like, oh my God, the Backrooms monster, and starts sprinting towards the door. And Jonathan keeps, like, getting closer to him, like, kind of lumbers towards him in, like, his big trash bag getup or whatever. At this point, like, Jonathan's cousin's like, oh, open the door, brother. Dun, 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 dun. Keeps, like, slamming on the door, right? And Jonathan gets closer and closer in his big trash bag getup and, like, starts walking up the stairs. Jonathan's cousin's like, oh my God, bum, 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 on the door. And, Jonathan's mother Jonathan's cousin's mother kind of wants to open the door because it's like, hey, that's her baby boy or whatever. But she's like, hey, man, he's been causing way too much trouble scaring people at school. He needs to be taught this lesson. And yes, sure enough, Jonathan gets closer and closer to his cousin. And when he gets right up to him, since he has a trash bag on, he, like, reaches under and then around to lift up the trash bag and show his face. And at this point, Jonathan's cousin is so frightened, but just has this look of shock when he sees it's actually Jonathan. And Jonathan's like, got you. Doesn't feel that good to be scared, right? Subscribe if you haven't already, and now go watch another video. There's some on screen, some of them recommended. Go watch one, you'll make me very happy and support the channel. Thank you, bye. Today we got a story time of a kid who thinks the Backrooms are actually real. Leave a like in the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe, and let's jump right into it. So we're going to call the subscriber sent in today's story, we're going to call him James. And by the way, I get all the names I use in my videos from the comment section down below, so leave a comment of any name you want me to use. But anyways, this all happened one day when James was in class. And James had a friend who we're going to call Tim. And Tim, one day just pulled him aside out of the blue. And James is really taken aback, kind of startled by this. And James is like, all right, Tim, well, what's good? Are you good, bro? Is everything all right? And Tim just looks at him and he's like, James, I got to talk to you after class. And whenever someone does this, whenever they're like, I need to talk to you after class, or I need to talk to you, this is serious, you already know that something is up. And James is kind of like, that's fine, but can you at least tell me what the subject matter is? And Tim is like, no, I just have to explain then. It's going to sound too weird. And, at this point, James is just really kind of James is really weirded out. He's kind of freaked out a little bit. And he's like, all right, Tim, okay. I got you. Yeah, we can meet after class. That's all good with me. Okay, that's fine. Anyways, right after class, James finds Tim, and Tim's like, all right, we need to go somewhere safe. We need to go somewhere soundproof, basically. And James is just looking at Tim at this point because he's like, what on earth could this guy have to tell me that needs to be super secretive? What does he got? Some FBI secrets? Does he have the nuclear codes or something? What's the deal? Sure enough, right, James walks to where Tim is, and, they walk over and they find some kind of secluded place on the playground. And remember, they're both in 6th grade, just for a little context, and Tim, leans over to James, and he's like, do you know what the Backrooms are? And James, before, at this point, he does not, and now he does know, but at the time, he's like, no, what are the Backrooms? And Tim is like, all right, well, you know how my older brother, you know how he kind of works for the government, right? And James is like, bro, I thought he just worked at an ice cream shop over the summer. Tim's older brother really does this work for an ice cream shop over the summer, but he told Tim that no, he actually works for the government and that's just the disguise or whatever. And Tim turns to James, he's like, that's what everyone thinks, but he actually, that's just what he tells people, because for the branch of the government that he works at, he just can't tell anyone what he's doing, so he has to pretend like he works at the ice cream store. And James is like, oh, okay, I guess that makes sense for secret reasons. And Tim leans into James, he's like, and my older brother told me about something, the project he's working on. And he just said that, I need to know for my own safety. And since you're my close friend, James, I just thought you needed to know too. And James is looking at Tim just what on earth is he gonna tell me, bro? What is so important that his older brother has to pretend like he's working for an ice cream shop, but is actually working for the government on a secret project that apparently is life and death enough that Tim has to that he had to tell Tim, and since Tim is my great friend or whatever, Tim has to tell me. What could he possibly be talking about? And Tim says, you know how I said the Backrooms earlier? You don't know what those are, right? And, James is like, no. And he's like, well, I didn't know either. And apparently no one really does. But my older brother, he pulled me aside one day and he just told me about this and I need to tell you. I just feel a sense of duty that I need to tell you. And James is like, all right, Tim, spit it out. Well, what's the deal? What are these Backrooms? So Tim just looks at James and he's like, all right, I'll explain. Have you ever felt an eerie kind of feeling? Ever felt like something was a little bit off? And James is like, well, yeah, I guess, sure, but, what's the point of that? And Tim says, there's actually a scientific explanation for why you have that feeling, especially when nothing is really wrong, or at least it doesn't seem like that. When you feel that, it's your body's response to being near an exit point. And, James just kind of looks at Tim and he's like, what? And Tim goes on to say, exit points are these kind of connecting areas between our world and a kind of a secondary world, also known as the Backrooms. The Backrooms consist of repeating kind of, really dull kind of office-like rooms with a kind of yellowy lighting, and they repeat on and on forever. You know how you can kind of no clip out of a video game, and you have access to kind of these structures and textures that you normally wouldn't be able to. And James is like, yeah? He's really freaked out and just weird. James is just weirded out at this point. And Tim goes on to say, it's kind of the equivalent of that, but imagine instead of a video game, it's the real world. There have been about 11 cases so far of individuals accidentally no-clipping out of our reality and into the secondary reality, which the government organization has dubbed as the backrooms. Unfortunately, right, the backrooms are not, docile in their nature, right? They're not just full of repeating rooms with no creatures. There are many entities in the backrooms, and most of them from our experiments have seemed to be hostile. Tim goes on to say that the reason why his brother is stationed, very close here is because the area that they live is a hotspot. In fact, 50% of all the no clips have happened in like a 10-mile radius from where they're standing right now. And he also said that 60% of all the no clips have happened within the last 6 months, at least to the government's knowledge. There might have been more, but those are the ones they have on record. And Tim says that his older brother told him about this so that if he ever feels an eerie sensation, to make sure that, that just to be aware of his surroundings, if anything starts to feel like fuzzy or fadey, to just run out of there as quickly as possible. And in fact, if he ever feels a weird sensation, just to run and sprint and get out of there as quickly as possible. At this point, right, James is really freaked out. Because his friend, Tim, said this all to him with a straight face, bro. He said to this with, no smile, no, haha, got you. Tim said this with, a bit of, fear, a bit of, seriousness, a bit of urgency in his voice. So James has no idea what to think. Because, first of all, this sounds ridiculous. But James, first of all, James is in 6th grade, bro. 6th graders, I know when I was in 6th grade, I believed in a few goofy things. But he's like, his brother does work at an ice cream shop, and I guess I never see him, working at the ice cream shop he says he works at. So if he does work for the government, the government's, covered up a lot of other sketchy stuff before. Maybe this is real. And he's like, I have felt an eerie feeling once in a while, and it's definitely, I felt it more often. All this is kind of just him convincing himself at this point. And James is looks up to Tim, he's like, if what your brother's saying is true, are we in danger? Immediate danger? And Tim looks at James and he's like, honestly, the government apparently doesn't know that much about what's going on. He said, but there is a trend that a lot of no clips are happening in our area, and a lot of no clips are happening the last 6 months. It seems that there's an acceleration, and we don't know if the whole town is going to slowly collapse in on itself, or we just really don't know at this point. And James is looking at Tim just with this look of oh my God. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment the backrooms in the comment section down below. I'm going to try and heart as many of those comments as I possibly can. Anyways, right, James and Tim are just kind of looking at each other, and James is like, oh my God, thank you so much for telling me this. And Tim is just looking at him yeah, don't worry about it. And Tim says, you know what, if anything else happens, you'll be one of the first people I'll tell. I'll keep you in the loop, I promise. So James is pretty freaked out, and there's at least a couple occasions after he hears that news that, his brain is already, kind of freaking out, so it feels uncomfortable in general, but he feels, kind of an uneasy sensation, and he immediately is like, oh my God, it's the backrooms. So he'll be, I don't know, in the mall, looking at clothes or whatever, and he feels an uneasy sensation, and he'll just sprint out of the store. Or one time he was in class and he felt the uneasy sensation, and he quickly raised his hand. He's like, teacher, I gotta go to the bathroom. And they're like, can you wait? And he's like, no, and then sprints out of the classroom. So James at this point is kind of really freaking out. And, Tim is in the same boat. But later, you know what, James is like, maybe there's something on the internet about this. Maybe a Reddit thread. I'm sure the government might try and cover it up, but maybe if I'm quick enough, right, since no one, maybe I'll be able to catch a website before it's taken down and just learn a little bit more or get in contact with someone who knows. And at first, James is like, well, maybe I shouldn't look this up. Maybe the government is searching who is actually looking up the backrooms and then silencing them. But he said, I just got to know, especially if I'm in a hotspot. So James goes on the internet. He looks up the backrooms and sees tens and thousands of results. He sees thousands of videos and articles talking about the backrooms. And at first he's just like, what? I thought this was some super secret government organization. How does everyone know? Did news spread? And as he's reading more into it, James realizes that the backrooms are some fictional meme made on the internet. At this point, right, James is kind of mad. So the next day he goes up to Tim. He's like, bro, all that stuff about the backrooms, it's Like, okay, I get it. Funny. That was a prank. And Tim is looking at him like, what are you talking about? And James is like, dude, I get it now. Like, it's all over the internet. And Tim looks at him with this kind of look of like shock, like, oh my God, it's on the internet? And James is slowly realizing that Tim wasn't pranking him. In fact, Tim had no ill intent, if anything, probably only good intent for telling him. But instead, it was Tim's older brother who was the one pranking Tim. So Tim just looks at the subscriber and is like, I need to have a talk with my older brother. Subscribe, drop a like on the video, and then click one of the 4 videos you see on screen right now to support the channel. Thank you, bye. Today we got a story time from a subscriber who's claiming that, his uncle told him that the Backrooms actually isn't just an urban legend on the internet, but it was something that he experienced back in the day. Yeah, this is a crazy one, dude. Leave a like on the video to claim your free nothing, subscribe to the channel, and let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to call the subscriber who sent in this story Dennis. And by the way, Dennis sent in this story via my Instagram, which you can go follow. Even if you're not going to send in a story, it's in the description. Anyways, first thing I want to say is, in my personal opinion, before I tell the story, in my personal opinion, someone here is lying. Someone here is making this up. It's either his uncle was lying to Dennis or Dennis was making this up. Either way, it's a decent enough story, or maybe the Backrooms are actually real. Personally, I don't believe that, but the story was interesting enough that I thought, screw it, I'm going to tell it on the story anyways. Tell it on the channel anyways. I can't even speak. Anyways, right, apparently this happened, not too long ago, but, the Backrooms, very popular kind of urban legend on the internet, and it recently blew up again with that video from Kane Pixels, the really cool kind of like horror film, student film, whatever, right? And apparently Dennis, who we're going to call the subscriber, Dennis was like getting really into it. He was getting like all into the lore behind it, watching a bunch of YouTube videos on it. And his uncle, the brother of his dad, they both grew up in like the 80s, 70s, whatever. He was around one day, like he was visiting he was visiting his dad. And at this time, Dennis was really just like engulfed in all this kind of like Backrooms internet content. And Dennis at this time really did have a strong belief that this was just all kind of like fake, made up on the internet. But it's always fun to kind of like believe these things or whatever. And sure enough, right, Dennis's uncle, we're just going to call him the uncle, or we'll just say the uncle, right? So the uncle was like around watching, just chilling at the house or whatever. And he sees Dennis looking at all this Backrooms content. And the uncle says, hey, like, do you know if that is based on? And, Dennis kind of looked at him like, what do you mean? What is the Backrooms based on? Like, it's an urban legend on the internet, right? And, Dennis's uncle said, you know what? I think it's time I tell you a story from my childhood. And at this point, right, Dennis is like listening in because he's like, all right, so the Backrooms has something to do with the story time from his childhood. Like, all right, I'm interested. So sure enough, right, Dennis sat down, unplugged his his headphones or earpods or whatever, stopped his YouTube video, sat on the couch, and his uncle's like, all right, man, so like, I don't know this for a fact, but I do believe that whoever started this internet rumor experienced the same thing that me and my buddies did back in the 80s. And at this point, right, Dennis was like, hey, yo, like, hold up here. And the uncle goes on to say, so this was back when I was a teenager. So this was like middle of the 80s or whatever. And, back in the day, me and my friends used to just go around, just kick around town, go to like abandoned like warehouses, go to just abandoned parks, go on like long hikes, no adult supervision, nothing like that. We were just going around, messing around to have a good time. And there was this kid, right? There was this kid in our class. He was kind of a little nerdy. He was kind of a little weird. And we just never really got along with him. And we just never really hung out with him. And for the sake of, this video, I'm going to call him Ben, right? Anyways, the uncle goes on to say, so this kid just like one day didn't show up to class. And no one really thought anything of it because like the high school that he went to, kids were skipping school all the time. Like kids were getting expelled all the time. Dennis's like uncle, didn't, just kind of went to a high school with a lot of people who just were not planning on, sticking through the full 4 years, which by the way, just get through high school. Going to college is cool, but at least get through high school, guys. That's the best advice I can give you. Just put your head down and grind through it. Trust me, it's much better doing that than not seeing it through and graduating. But anyways, right, Dennis's, uncle didn't think much of it at the time. He's like, all right, so this kid Ben didn't show up one day. And then it goes about a week, and Ben just doesn't show up. And, Dennis and his friends kind of just assumed that, Ben just, either moved town or just is not showing up to school anymore. Maybe he got expelled. Maybe he's just deciding that he's done with this. But this, this kind of like reality kind of shattered when, the uncle, or Dennis's uncle, to check the name for a second, Dennis's uncle, right? He was sitting with his friends at the lunch table, and then this guy who they kind of knew was like friendly with Ben came up to them and started to like say, hey man, like, I just want to let you know what like what happened with Ben. Like, I don't know for sure, but like, I'm really weirded out. Anyways, right, so this friend of Ben comes up to Dennis and his friends and is basically just trying to, like, is worried about his, like, kind of acquaintance Ben. He isn't super close with Ben. But he goes on to explain that, the day before Ben stopped showing up to class, right, that he was, like, going off about how he discovered something crazy in the abandoned warehouse in their neighborhood, saying that, like, it led to a completely different world. Like, it just kept going. He was able to get out of there, but it was a really weird feeling. There's this buzzing sound. Somehow that when you went through this door, the lights were on. It was like this dim yellow lighting, right? And for some reason, right, this abandoned warehouse that had no power, nothing was connected, everything was smashed and broken. There was like a whole underground layer that had like power and electricity. It was a bunch of office rooms, and it made absolutely no sense. And this guy was saying that like Ben was going off about this almost manically to him, and just the next day, he probably went there to explore it again, is what this guy is telling, Dennis's uncle. And he's just like, dude, and then Ben didn't show up the next day. And, I tried to like, I went to Ben's house. I didn't know him that well, but I went to Ben's house, and his mother was there, and his mother was like, in a state of panic because Ben had just not shown up again. Like, Ben just disappeared one day. He didn't just stop going to school. He stopped showing up to everything. No one knows where he is. At this point, right, Dennis's uncle and Dennis's uncle's friends are just like, oh, geez, like that, this is legit. Like, this is actually serious. So then Dennis's uncle tells Dennis, like, hey, like, in retrospect, what me and my friends did, you should never do. Like, this was really reckless and stupid, but we did it anyways. So Dennis's uncle and his friends decide that they want to go check out this abandoned warehouse for themselves because, it's at least something to do, and also it's the source of something interesting now because this guy who just disappeared, right, was going off about, like, how there's something secret down there. In retrospect, little commentary from me, dude, just don't do this. Like, even, like, if they think it is the Backrooms or something, right, 9 out of 10 times, like, in reality, right, this would just be, if someone went there and disappeared, something really bad is there. So just don't go there. But anyways, Dennis's uncle and his friends weren't really that smart, so they decided that they wanted to investigate. And so, one, Friday after school, they were like, all right, we're going to do it today. So they all get together, and they're like, all right, let's just go down to the abandoned warehouse. Let's explore it a little bit. Let's try and find some, like, hidden underground place. I don't even know, like, what we're looking for, but let's just go there and see what we can find. Real quick, if you made it this far into the video, comment Backrooms down below. I just want to see how many people made it this far. But anyways, right, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they decide that they're going to go down and investigate. So, that Friday night, or that Friday evening, I should say, they're not going there when it's dark. They might be reckless, but they're not that reckless, right? So Friday evening, they got at least a few hours of daylight. They decide to go down to the abandoned warehouse, right? And they go down there, and it's a little sketchy. I mean, it's an abandoned warehouse. Like, of course it's a little sketchy. They go in there, there's broken glass. So anyways, right, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they're exploring the abandoned warehouse. They've been there a few times before, so it's not like they're exploring it completely new. So they go in there, everything looks about the same, right? Broken windows, glass on the floor. There's some graffiti from people who've gone in there and, like, graffitied it up or just marked it up or whatever, right? There's, like, they remember the same things are there from before. There's, like, some bits of equipment that have rusted out that the people who were there before just left there. There's this big, like, door that used to open and closed for, like, shipments of whatever. That was, like, kind of, like, broken and rusty. They got in through this back door that just, like, fell off and no one ever fixed it because it's, it's an abandoned warehouse. No one's keeping that thing up anymore. And then eventually, right, so there's a basement to this place. And they never really ventured into the basement because they're like, nah, that's creepy, like, that's kind of weird. But they kind of come to the conclusion that if there's something here, it's not going to be on the surface, and it's going to be somewhere in the basement. So they all kind of look at each other, and they're just like, all right, all right, we're going to do it. We're either not going to do it or we're going to do it. At this point, right, Dennis is like, hey, like, we're not going to go in there without a light. And they look at each other, and no one brought a flashlight. So they're like, all right, let's come back Saturday. Let's come back prepared. Backpacks, we got water, got our flashlight, got some food, we're going to come prepared, got some wire cutters just in case we have to get through a lock cutter or something, like, to make sure that we get in there. So anyways, they go back, deciding that today was not the day. And the next day rolls around, and it's Saturday, and that's when they bring all the supplies. So they come back to the abandoned warehouse, and they get in there, they look at the basement, and they're just like, all right, everyone get their lights out. So everyone takes out their flashlights, they open the door, and they venture down. So anyways, they open up the door, they walk down to the basement. Once again, a little commentary for me, dude, just don't do this. It's a bad call. But anyways, so they, Dennis's uncle and his friends, they go down there, they got their flashlights, they're looking around, and they're just like, oh, sick, because there's all this, like, rusted out machinery, there's all this, like, big piles of scrap metal, there's, like, some old, just a bunch of, like, old stuff down there, and then there's a bunch of doors, and most of them lead to, like, empty closets, or not closets, but, like, storage areas. They open it up, like, they'll open one up, they also put on gloves, they're not trying to get tetanus or anything, they put on some, like, thick, like, gardening gloves, they open up one of the doors, they look inside, nothing is there, and then finally, they find, like, one of the last couple doors, and they open it up, and it's, like, the same thing as always. It's, like, a storage closet. But they see that, like, beyond this door is another door. And this is where they all stop in their tracks. Because Dennis's uncle tells Dennis that they saw something that to this day he can't explain. There was another door, and the lining of that door was light. You know how, like, if, like, everything else is dark and there's, like, one room in your house is, like, lit up and the door is closed, you'll still see an outline of, like, light leaking out from, like, the little crevices and edges and such? This is what they were seeing, meaning that there was light on in wherever this was. So sure enough, right, this kid Ben was telling the truth, at least to the point that there was kind of a secret underground place here and there was light. And so sure enough, right, Dennis's uncle is like, looks at everyone else. He's like, all right, like, this is kind of dangerous. We should really be careful. But he says, I got to know what's behind here. And before any of the other guys could stop him, Dennis's uncle goes to the door, twists it, and slowly opens it. And he's able to, like, just peer inside, even just briefly, right? He sees this yellow, monotonous light. He sees office rooms, and it seems to just keep going. And for some reason, right, Dennis's uncle, the whole thing was creepy, but he just got this gut feeling of, like, I should not be here. We should not be here. He closes the door, he looks at his friends, and he's like, we need to go right now. And, like, his friends assumed that he saw something or, like, someone in there, something dangerous, right? I mean, it seemed dangerous in general, but, like, saw an immediate threat. So they all bolt to, like, the exit. They all run up the stairs. They all run out of the abandoned warehouse. And they honestly keep running for, like, 5 minutes until they're very far away. And at the end of it, like, one of the friends is like, dude, what did you see? And Dennis's uncle said, like, I didn't see anything immediate, but, and then he goes on to explain what he saw, which is a bunch of, like fluorescent light, like yellow kind of light, and then, like, a bunch of office rooms. And he's like, dude, like, there was nothing immediately there. I just got this feeling that we should not have been there. And his friends were like, bro, is that it? And he's like, you got to trust me. Like, we should not be there. And that was, Dennis's uncle said, like, that was the last time we went there. Him and his friends never saw anything else like that again. And he said he never really heard from Ben again. And he said he's not sure if Ben actually did disappear or, like, he just moved and he ran away from home. Maybe he was staying down there and he just moved without him knowing. But at this point, right, like, Dennis's uncle, like, turns to Dennis and is like, dude, like, maybe Backrooms are totally unrelated, but it's my personal theory that someone that lived near me at that time had a similar experience and just took a while to write about it on the internet. He said, I don't know if that was some, like, secret hideout for some bad people. I don't know if that was, like, one of these, like, portals to this dimension, but something seriously strange happened back then. And I just want to tell you about it. So Dennis is sitting there just looking at his uncle like, oh my God, like, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. So anyways, right, and that's about the end of the story that Dennis sent to me. Do I personally believe it? I don't know. Maybe. I thought it was at least interesting enough to tell in the story, and it's up to you guys, whatever you think about that. give your thoughts about, you know, the story, if you think it's real, if you think it's fake, if you think it was like actually the Backrooms, if you think it's just something totally different. But anyways, subscribe if you haven't already, drop a like in the video, and then click one of the 4 videos on screen right now or some other video of mine to support the channel. Thank you. Peace.